I guess that you remember very well the first time you hold your newborn baby in your hands. I remember when I, for the first time, hold my son, and I was trying to catch his eyes and the look, but it was very, very difficult because it was like nothing there. He just arrived to this world with his senses, and that was like hearing and seeing and feeling and taste and smell. So he had a system that will make him conquer this world in the best of ways. So that is how we start to take in this whole world. We use our senses to understand and to receive information. Then it's like a lot of information that is coming because it's a lot of sounds and a lot of things to see and a lot of things to smell. So we have like a filter in our brain to cooperate with all those kind of informations we get in. And I will just very short say something about what is in this filter that makes it like easier to understand communication in the best of ways. So, for example, experience is very, very important. So when we are kids, we don't have so much experience, but we build it up. And that means when something is happening, we filter that by our experience, and it's easier to handle. When something happens for the first time, it's very like hard. But when it comes from the second or third or fourth, and then just, adding up, it's getting easier and easier. And actually, when we have a lot of experience, we don't even have to think so much about it because we just take it for granted that it is there. So when a kid is trying to sit, for example, for the first time, it's more or less all the time fall down because it's like hard to sit. But when it has tried and tried and tried and figured it out, then it will sit, without thinking for more or less the whole life. So what kind of experience in life do you have? Because that is different to the experience that I have. Another thing that is in this filter is values. And values are the things that are important for us. So when something is happening, if it's important for us, we filter it different than if it's not important for us. So first of all, we have the experience, and then we have if it's important or not. And those values that we start with is more or less just planted by our parents. So you as a parent are very, very important. What is important for you as a parent will also be very important for your kid. And that's how we grow up. Like, you probably remember this, like certain things was very important where you were growing up. And then it's also become like a part of you that was very, very important. Then that can start to change when your kid will become a teenager, for example. It will challenge the values of the family and society, maybe, and the whole world. I don't know. But anyway, it will be personalized and it will be what is important for that person. So remember, when something is happening, we have experience or not, it's important or not for us. It's also about personality, and I will not go deep into that, but you come from a place and you have, your mother and your father and the society and whatever, environment you were born in. And that has a great and big impact on you. So your personality can also be that you are very, very sensitive, like high sensitive or low sensitive. It could be that you're extrovert or introvert, or maybe a mix of both. And we have like some people are more negative, really, and some people are more positive. So we don't go too deep into that. But when something is happening, experience, is it important? And also personality. It counts when it comes to how we start to communicate. So there is a lot of other things also in this filter. I will not go into that. But something is happening, you filter it, and then you have it, as a memory and like an experience. in your brain and in your personality and all of that. And your thinking is actually using the same system. So you remember things, for example, in pictures or in sounds or in feelings or taste and smell. So the brain and who we are is just like building the communication skill up by doing the best of putting everything that is happening out there in a good place. And how you deal with the thinking, I would say, about what's happening sets the state inside of you, how you feel. So when you're having good thoughts, good memories, you're doing good pictures in your head, you're talking good to yourself, you're feeling good, your state becomes good. And what you say and speak out will be definitely colored by that. So follow me now. Something is happening. We experience that. It goes through the filter and it goes also through the system, how we deal with it, with our thinking. And if we are doing this in a good way, we got a good feeling inside and we communicate with our best skills. But if we are thinking negative or distorts or make those pictures and the sounds too bad, it will go like that we don't feel so good and we actually not communicate so good. But this is actually very, very basic how we as humans is manage communication. When things are happening, we do a lot of job that we don't think about, like, that we are aware of, but it's just how we sort all of those things up so we can communicate in the best of ways. So you can check this out again and think about it, and then like, oh, what kind of pictures do I make, and what do I say to myself, and actually how do I feel? And then you have like a thermometer, a temp, how you are doing. So it's easy. And remember, your experience is not my experience. Your values is not my values. And your personality is definitely not my personality. So we have to listen first to understand the other person and where that person is coming from to actually communicate in the best of ways that we want. So you're always responsible for your communication and to be a little bit aware of this model, how communication is working. So this is also the communication model for being a parent and understand your kid. Because my experience is that a lot of parents actually don't know the language of their own kids because they have never taken the time to figure it out. So it's very important to understand if your kid, for example, your child, has a lot of pictures in their head. So when things are happening, they seeing this in the head when they are thinking. A very easy way of checking that out is if your kid, maybe 2-3 years old, I would say, 4, 5, etc., is looking up in the roof when they are talking and checking around. It's because they are seeing pictures when they are talking. So when they are talking about what's happening in the kindergarten, they also see in their mind what's happened in the kindergarten. That means that you can communicate with your kids easier with pictures and even using the language by, for example, do you see my point? Or what is what do you see that you will do tomorrow in kindergarten, for example? Like, you just figure it out, you use your language. But it could also be that the kid remember what you are saying very, very well. So if you promise something, the kid will remember that. Words, auditive, is very important. So then you have to be aware of what you promise or what you say, because the kid will take that for granted, what you are saying. It's also very important maybe with information, that the information goes in and out correct, but also adventure and listening to stories could be very, very important. Words are important. And then, of course, a lot of kids has a lot of emotions. So to hug and snuggle in and be aware of the hugs and all of that makes it easier, because the kids a lot of times is looking around mostly on the floor, checking out if there is any emotions they can pick up and feel. So it's a lot of emotions. And do you feel will become something that you will hear a lot of times, like, I don't feel for going to the kindergarten, or I have a bad feeling about that playmate or whatever it is. So you can listen to the language, because they're more or less using the same language as they have the trigger, because we have all three, and then we add the taste and the smell. But we see pictures and words are important, and we have feelings, but sometimes your kid could have a little bit more of something. So when I was raising my kids, I have 3 sons, and they were all different. They all had like one trigger on this. One is very, very visual, see everything, details. One remembered what I said when he was a little guy, and he's an old guy now, or older. But he still remembered what you said to me, father, right? And one of the sons, because there are 3 sons, has so much emotion still, so he sounds more or less like an animal whenever and whatever he is talking about. It's a lot of aha, etc. I had to learn to communicate with those guys in 3 different ways. And that is what you also have to do with your kids. You have to find out how in the best of ways communicate with your kid by thinking a little bit about this model. So good luck with that. Find out the language of your kid. That is fun.